Hey, comic book fans, welcome back to Comic Book Corner 2.0 and fans here with me, Mike Spider Slayer, bringing you a countdown episode number 80. That's right, fans. Just to give you a little update, fans, let you know that today, Tuesday, we're going to have Group 2 up for Road to Comic of the Year 2014. That's right, fans. And I want to thank all of you for all the votes out there. So stay tuned for Group 2 coming up after the countdown. So, yes, fans, the countdown is the show where Mike Spider Slayer talks about his favorite comics of the week, all the way from the worst pick of the week to the number one pick of the week. And this week, fans, there was 13 comics to talk about all together. So let's not waste any time and let's start countdown number 80. That's right, fans. All right, here we go. Number 80, number 80. Number 13, we're going to start off with Carnage, issue number 1. Really curious to see what your guys' thoughts are on Carnage. Sorry I wasn't able to do many individual reviews this week. I did 2 on Comic Frontline, and that was it. Halloween weekend was really hectic for me, so this is the only video that I have to discuss about the comics this week, so I apologize about that. But Carnage, issue number 1. If you're a Carnage fan, I don't know if you're going to like the direction that they're trying to bring Carnage in this particular series. Will he stay this way? I'm not sure. I hope not, because I don't like seeing Carnage trying to be a good guy and trying to control himself in the series, like trying to control his behavior, trying to control his violence, trying to be comical like Deadpool. I don't think we need this in Marvel. I don't think this is necessary for Carnage. He needs to be that sick, crazy, psychotic type of symbiote that we've known all through Spider-Man's history. And they're trying to go in that different direction here just because of his interactions with Access issue number 3 or 4 or whatever we were at. In this issue, it has to do with this weird sin eater type of character that takes these people's souls or whatever he does. I don't even know. And we get to see Carnage again trying to be this superhero, and that he can't control himself. He can't control his strength. He accidentally kills people. And he starts singing like Carnage Man, no one does it better like Carnage can. And I didn't like it. It was just totally out of character for me, and I hopefully Carnage doesn't stay this way. I want him to go back to his actual, the way he was intended to be. So again, very disappointing type of book. The artwork was okay on it. Story, the plot was very weak. I didn't enjoy it at all. I'm going to give it a 1.5 out of 5 stars. Worst pick of the week by far here. Hopefully they don't go in the direction of that. It's just not the way you need to go with the character. Doesn't need to be funny. Let's not go there with him. He doesn't need to be the next Deadpool. All right. Next, we're going to go with number 12. And number 12 was Future's End, issue number 26. That's right, fans. This book really focuses heavily this time around on Firestorm. Was it Jason and Raymond? Those two. You get a little introduction here with Terrific and Bruce Wayne. Nothing extraordinary, nothing that really progresses the story. It just takes up pages. And then you get to see the professor here, who wants Jason out of the picture. He knows that he is Firestorm, and he's against all superheroes because he feels that the superhero is played in his wife's death, and he wants nothing but revenge. So he kicks out Jason, and it was a pretty good scene. This was the part that I liked in the book. I thought it was really enjoyable. And then we go back to them talking. I think Terry McGinnis was in the issue very briefly, talking about Tim Drake. Then you get to see Madison in here. Actually, was it Madison? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, she winds up going into the actual professor's lab as well. And the professor's like, I'm going to use you as a test subject, and you're going to be, I don't care what happens to you, because if it wasn't because of you and your father and blah, 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 nothing would have happened to my wife. So he's in this ultimate revenge type of state here. So, and by the time you get to the end of this issue, you deal with a little thing with 50 Sue, which was very boring. I didn't really care for that. It looks like Deathstroke is betraying her in some way, or Brother's Eye, or whatnot. And by the time you get to the end of this issue, we get to see Batman make his presence felt in Future's End book and saying, "You two gotta get your shit together and become Firestorm and get back to work." And he flies off. Nothing really progressed. Again, anything with this story, with this series whatsoever, really completely fillerish. Just an average issue. I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5 stars. You know, the one thing I do have to say, though, about Future's End is they have done a good job at having consistent artwork. It doesn't change like Batman Eternal did. Future's End is very consistent on that aspect, so I'll give it that. All right, so going forward, we're going to go on to number 11. And number 11 for me was World's End issue number 4. I gave this book a 3 stars. For me, there's just a lot going on in World's End, and I find myself not completely captured by the story here. I don't know if it's because I don't have a rich history with a lot of these characters in the DC universe. Even though I read the entire Earth 2 series, I just felt like a disconnect. I feel like there's too much going on in here. I felt at times the art was a little bit blurry in the first few pages. It kind of got me going, is there something wrong with my vision here? And I just found that there's so much going on, and there is some interesting plot points, but I can't seem to capture it. I can't seem to grasp everything that's happening in the comic. So I feel a disconnect there. Hopefully, the more I read it, the more used to it I get. But I know Apocalypse is coming to Earth, and it's trying to take over Earth and whatnot. Then you got these fire pits that are erupting all over the place and taking over different parts of Earth. And you got one of them, I guess, taking over the Atlantean Queen. So yeah, I mean, it's not bad. It's just there's a lot going on. You got all of a sudden Green Lantern coming across Grundy. And yeah, just some crazy stuff going on here. I thought that the best story that I seemed to get to seem to have this human element to it was the what was it, Tim Drake and what's it called, and Barbara Gordon story. I thought that was the best part of the story here. So I really enjoyed that aspect. That was a good few pages in the end. But otherwise, besides that, I'm sorry, it's not Tim, it's Dick. I'm sorry, I made a mistake there. Dick Grayson. But besides that, I was just like, okay, well, the rest of it's all right. And there was an interesting cliffhanger there. But if you're, a Earth 2, fan, you might like this. And if you have great history with DC, you might get it better than I do, because I only started reading DC from the New 52. I was never a huge DC fan to begin with when I was younger, so there's not that history there that I have. But interesting cliffhanger, and I'm going to keep reading it, and I'm going to see where it goes from here, because honestly, I think out of the 3 weeklies, this is the best weekly, in my opinion. We'll see how consistent it continues and how they drag the story along, but this is the best one out of all of them. So I got to give this one a 3 out of 5 stars. All right, so next we're going to go on to our top 10. And number 10 this week is Guardians of the Galaxy, issue number 20. This wraps up the whole what happened to Richard Rider type of deal. It took 3 issues to discuss what was happening, and I felt by the time we got to the end of this, I was like, okay, this is it, This was a complete filler story arc, I felt. There was nothing here that really progressed the overall story of the Guardians. I thought that the artwork in this series was really well done, because it's done by Ed McGuinness. Lots of good facial expressions in the book. Lots of good paneling in here as well. One of the best last pages that I got from here was probably this page right here. This is a gorgeous page, colored beautifully. I really like that. It really captured a lot of emotion here. But besides that, I felt that the actual issue was just like it was just stalling with just lots of sorry, my camera's not working right here. Hold on. See if I can get it to come back. Camera. There we go. Sorry about that, guys. Camera really acting up there. Anyway, filler type of issue. Nova had to, he basically sacrifices himself to save Drax and Peter Quill, and Thanos wind up surviving as well here. There were some decent moments about how Peter Quill, on how much he loved Nova and how he promised to keep his word on not telling Gamora what was going on. I thought that was pretty interesting, a little bit touching there as well. But overall, I thought it was a lot of just nonsense battle that was just kind of like, okay, we're just stalling what's going on here. It was a lot of the same that you saw in the two previous issues. You got to see the Revengers in here, I think, very briefly. They made this big deal of them in the last issue, and they're gone by like one page later. So it was just weird. Again, the only character moments I really liked here was Peter talking to Gamora to really make a decision whether, let me tell my story, then you can leave or you can go, and you can see her go behind the door and show her emotion there and how much she really cared, for Nova. So interesting stuff there. But again, it was just an average issue, average story arc. Looking forward to the next one, the whole symbiote type of thing. I'm going to give this one a 3 out of 5. All right, so going forward, we're going to go on to number 9. And number 9 features Nova. And Nova issue number 22. Again, filler issue, has to deal with the whole trick or treat week, and it's very fitting for the month and the release that it came out. But again, it was just a filler issue where you get to see, Nova basically letting out or venting out to what is now his best friend, the Stone Watcher. And I'm kind of surprised that he doesn't see the new Nick Fury Watcher up there, which I was kind of like, okay, he's at the moon, and that's where the new Watcher is at the current moment too. And I'm kind of wondering like why he hasn't seen him, but he vents to him and he leaves him, this monument of him. And the artwork changes in this issue. And now this series is starting to change its artwork to a point where I kind of am starting to not feel the character as much with the story. They're starting to change him a little bit. Facial expression's a little awkward. I kind of don't enjoy that as much. I feel that it's a little bit off. And in the issue, you get to see Nova just team up with some of the people from Wolverine and the X-Men, some of the students, and they go out and they kind of do some good deeds. They stop some bullying and things like that from these guys taking candy from kids, and it was a fun issue. It's type of issue where you needed Sam Alexander to be earthbound, and we get to see him interact with his friends and other superheroes and things like that. You get to see a brief thing of what's going on about his father trying to get in contact with him, but he's contacting the wrong house because they moved. And by the time he gets to the end of it, he talks with his mom, and he's needed by the Avengers. So now he's going into the next story with the whole Avengers thing. So we'll see what happens there. So overall, artwork was a little off in this issue. It was, done by two artists here. And, story was fillerish. So I'm going to give this one a 3 out of 5 as well. All right, so going forward now, we're going to go on to number 8. And number 8 was Saga. Chapter 24. This wraps up the current story arc of what's going on here. Fiona Staples and Brian K. Vaughan are now going to go take a hiatus like they usually do for about 3 months. And they do this because they get the next story arc rolling and getting it out. So there's no filler issues, if you've noticed that in Saga, which is good about the series. The story just keeps continuing and continuing and continuing. However, though, this story for me was it was okay. It was just above average. This issue, you get to focus on the brand, which is actually the Will's brother, and he's searching for him and trying to find out what's happened to him and who did what to him. And we find out about this person, the Wreath character. I forgot if her name's Gwendolyn. I don't remember 100%. But we find out that they're trying to find this cure to stop the Will from being in this vegetative state because of what happened to a little slave girl that wound up, I guess, stabbing him in the head back in issues back. So, interesting issue here. I enjoyed it. Fiona Staples does a wonderful job with the artwork, as always in this. You always get these shock value type of things in the issue. Lion Cat was in this issue, which is always a treat to see with Lion Cat. I think the character knows when the character is lying, and it's just a distinctive sidekick. But yeah, again, you get these crazy type of artwork surprise things that's going on. You know, you got the Will sitting there doing it with the stalk, and she's some crazy spider lady. But you find out that he's dreaming, and again, he's in this vegetative state. So interesting stuff too. And the way this book ended here was really awesome too, because you get to see Marco and Prince the Robot the Fourth teaming up together. And I think that was really awesome because they want to find out who captured. They're working together to find the person who, one, killed his wife, and one who captured his baby, and also captured both of their families. So interesting stuff. Really enjoyed it, and I gotta give this one a 3.5 out of 5 stars. It wasn't the best issue, but I still really enjoyed the story. Hold on one second. I got a text right here. Okay. All right. So next we're gonna go on to number 7, and number 7 goes to a Zenescope book, and that is to the Warlord of Oz, and this is issue number 6. This wraps up the whole story, I guess, because yeah, let me just say it's a nice cover, by the way. This wraps up the whole story with Warlord of Oz, and it was this whole climatic battle that was going on in this issue with Dorothy, and you find out that her undead mother has risen from the dead, and you're like, holy crap, what's going to happen here? And the issue just kind of ends and never gives a real conclusion to the story. The artwork here by Miguel Mendoza, I think his name, Mendoza, I thought was really well done. I think it's awesome artwork. I think this story has been very consistent. This story has always, you know, if you like The Wizard of Oz with an edge, this is kind of it. Like, that's the Cowardly Lion right there, and that is Thorn. Sorry. Interesting book, but Dorothy here was trying to stop this from happening, and it's her mother from rising by the name of Zamora. And let's just say that she takes control. She takes Dorothy. She winds up becoming super powerful. All of this Oz world winds up going up in flames. Thorn's family winds up dying. The Warlord of Oz winds up, you know, taking over with Zamora here, which is, again, that creature there. And she betrays the people that she was working with. And let's just say that in the end, that all the evil people win, and they kind of just disappear, and you don't know what happens to them. Check out this awesome 2-page spread here. This is really good. And at the end, you're just left wondering, you know, what happens with Dorothy, because this was her staff that was left behind, and she decides to pick it up, and it like gives her these like evil powers. So I have no idea what to expect from this book going forward into the future. You just know that there's this story that's going to continue, and all you know is the bad guys also won here. They just retreated because Zamora was injured. But fun book. I like the character interactions. I like how they you know give Oz this high. I don't know what I'm trying to say here, but I love how they give Oz this different type of story that, this twist that we've all been used to for over the years with the Yellow Brick Road and everything else. Really fun in the end. I overall enjoyed the story. Fun to see Dorothy with these healing powers. Interesting stuff. I really liked it. And then I'm going to give this book a 3.5 out of 5 stars. All right. Next, we're going to go on to number 6, and number 6 was Realm War: Age of Darkness. Another fun issue here. This is part 4 of 12. This series is going on for an entire year. And this had to do with the continuation of the Dark Queen having rule over Earth with all the realms that have come together. And we get to see more of the Alliance members, these rebels, the Realm Knights, are falling. And they gather up in Mist, and they're trying to come up with this battle plan in order to try to stop the Dark Queen. Artwork is consistent in here. May not be the best artwork I've ever seen, but it is solid. And but what's good about this book is that on the flip side, the evil side, the people that have all the control under the world, they're the ones that edge against each other. This creature by the name of Malik, he feels that he's the king and should be ruling around with the queen, and she doesn't treat him with any respect, and he's pissed off about it. And we get to see the city in dire straits. Everything is being blown up. And we get to see how powerful the Dark Queen is because she's getting ready for this ceremony, how everyone has to bow before her. And if there's traitors, she's going to know it. And right away, she doesn't realize that Venus is the one that's planning a plot against her. But she did realize that Peter Pan, is the one that is planning the plot. Or she might know that Venus is, and she just killed Pan as a warning. So really interesting here how smart and manipulative the Dark Queen really is in this series. Robin Hood is used as for her evil bidding as well, which I thought was a nice plot twist to this story also. And then at the end, we get to see Sayla and the Realm Knights coming together to try to make their way over to Vegas, but to be stopped by these crazy type of robot creatures, which I thought was really fun too. Realm War is a good series, guys. If you're not familiar with what happened in the Grimm Fairy Tales universe before, you may not want to pick this up. So that's why this is kind of like towards that middle part of the list. But for me, I enjoy it. You have to have been a reader from Zenescope for a while to get what's really going on here. And this is a year-long story. It's a little bit slow to develop, but however, it does keep you interested enough to keep reading it. So if you're a Grimm Fairy Tales fan, if you're a Zenescope fan, you're going to like this. So I gave this a 3.5 out of 5 stars. All right, so next we're going to go on to our top 5. So now we're in the top 5 of the week, and that goes to Marvel 75th Anniversary. This book is a heavy price point at $5.99. Cool covers, got my man Spidey and Peter Parker on there. Always said he kind of looks like Tobey Maguire on there when I bought it, but I thought this book was good. It had some good stories overall in here. Goes back to a certain story with, called Anniversary, where it talks about where were you when everything was started. And it gives you deep back, to many, many years ago of the beginning stories of Peter Parker and Captain America and Shield and the Fantastic Four, and the way it was written. And I think James Robinson wrote that story. I thought it was really well done, type of story. Great page right here too with the Fantastic Four. So I thought that was a really nice story here, how everything began in certain ages of the Marvel Universe. They even had Miss Marvel in here for a panel, which I thought was really nice as well, on how she was always, a fan of heroes when she was even a young girl. So I really like that part of the story. The next story here, and I loved how the book actually threw in some um, type of covers of books that were never made, like this Squirrel Girl cover on here, how she marries Rocket Raccoon. I thought was cool, and they even show in the thing it says never made. So I love those little elements that this book threw in there. They got this Civil War type of cover in there as well, and then there was a story in here that Stan Lee wrote back in the day from 73 years ago. He wrote a two-page text feature that ran in Captain America Comics #3 back in 1941. And you get to see it done in comic form now. And I thought it was a really good story. I thought the artwork was really well done and just goes back to the basic days of what Marvel was, the basics of army and just beating up thugs. And the dialogue that was written here was really well done. And then you get to see the actual article by Stan Lee in this as well. About how he wrote it in that two-page form, which I thought was really nice with just a couple of pictures. Um, One of my favorite stories in here was an alias investigation type of story that had to do with the investigator trying to find out this old woman's past from 75 years ago, where a firefighter rescued her from the Human Torch because she was, I guess, he protected her from being caught on fire, and she never knew who that man was, and she went to his investigator to find out really who she was here on who he was, and she went to Shield to find out the records of who this man was, and at the end of the story, for 75 years later, they wound up seeing each other, and they're both in wheelchairs, and it's this old couple, but it was nice to see them, and they had this mutual this something in common, this deep connection, which I thought was really awesome. Again, you get some back history on different types of characters, and this I thought Marvel was really nice, and then it was a good anniversary issue, and then you had this story with Spider-Man in here, and then they again poke fun at certain covers with X-Men about what kind of team we have. There was just lots of good things in this book, and I really enjoyed it, and that's why I got the #5 spot this week. And I gave this one a 3.5 out of 5 stars. The one thing I would have loved to see in here, though, is what, for $5.99, I would want to see some type of. I know it's an anniversary collection, but I would have loved to see something that's to come, maybe a future story arc. Why wouldn't we? I would have loved to see in this 75th anniversary issue what this whole Marvel event is going to be that they've been showing all these teasers. I would have loved to have shown that they did the reveal in this book without anybody knowing. You've seen 13 teasers. You've been wondering for days what this event's going to be, and they revealed it here. That would have been really cool, some kind of shock value to this. But otherwise, it was good. I'm going to give this one a 3.5 out of 5 stars. A little pricey for people. All right, so going forward, going on to #4. #4 was Robin Hood, issue #3. This wraps up the first story arc for Robin Hood, and she deals with this priest-like character that's been sucking in all these souls to get this crazy type of power. Books written by Patrick Sham, lovely writer, love him to death, great guy. Artwork in this issue is not done by Larry Watts. It's done by Claudia Balboni. And I think she did a wonderful job here. A very similar type of art style in here. Nice paneling, basic layouts here. Fun book to read. And, you get to see Robin do these types of battles against this priest character. And we wind up seeing that there's this shady guy by the name of Peter that's been working with them, and they haven't been sure if they should trust him or not trust him. And by the end of the issue, he's really not that trustworthy. But we wind up seeing some good character moments in this book. between Marianne and Robin as well. Marianne is the one that's from Mist, from Robin Hood, and she's new to the Earth realm, and she wants to fit in with the other girls. So she wants to join with the roller derby girls, and we get to see them, solve this first case. It's funny because they don't know what to charge the client because they're like these ghostly detective type of people, and they wanted to charge this girl like $300, and that was it. And you get to see good character moments between them, how they're kind of opposites, but they like to watch the Orange Is the New Black. And by the end of the issue, we get to see that the priest comes back alive. However, we get to see these underground type of people, reminded me of Court of the Owls, and you're kind of wondering in the dark, like, who are these people? They're running the city from the underground. So really interesting aspect here that this book has to offer, and obviously this is not the last that we see of these characters. The next issue focuses on Robin Hood teaming up with Red Riding Hood, which is Brittany Waters, into this horrific type of two-part story arc that's going on there. So I can't wait to read that one. And another new series by Patrick Shand is Cinderella that's coming out. It's a two-part series as well. So great stuff here that Zenescope is putting out. Robin Hood is my favorite series besides Grim Fairy Tales that is out right now. And after reading this book, I give it 3 3/4 star, not quite 4 stars. I thought it was very well written. Good first story arc here. If you guys are looking to pick this up, I'll go ahead and start on it right on issue 1. So I gave this one, again, 3 3/4 stars. All right. So going forward, we're going on to our top 3 books of the week. Top three. Number 3. And number 3 is Savage Dragon, issue number 199. Hasn't been on the countdown this high in a long time, but this is something that Eric Larson, one of my childhood heroes or people that I looked up to, you know, has done for this series. Is he's always experimented with Savage Dragon. He's the longest going ongoing Image title that's writing and doing artwork for a book. And he drew Spider-Man way back in the day, back in the early 90s, and I was a huge fan. Really influenced me on, drawing my own comics, writing my own comics, reading comics, collecting comics, and really had that influence in getting me into Spider-Man the way I am today, because I love all his over-exaggerative art and everything that he brought to the table to his Spider-Man titles. And he even did the Spider-Man title for a time after Eric Larson as well, after Todd McFarlane as well. So when you read this book as a fan, you got to appreciate what he's put on the table here. And for this issue, he did nothing but 2-page spreads. Way back in issue number 7, he did all 1-page spreads for his title, Savage Dragon. But here, every single page, the story that is told, is a 2-page spread. And you have to appreciate that. The amount of detail that goes into each and every single page of art in here. I thought it was so enjoyable. I mean, check this out. Now, the story, why it's not number 1 on my list is the story for $3.99. It was just a battle scene between these, I think they're called humanoids or demonoids. And it was just this basic, like you would see on a 1-page, panel, or 1 page, with a whole bunch of panels, or 2 pages, or whatever it is. But it was just like all in one comic. So there wasn't much story here. But if you're a fan of artwork like I am, you're really going to appreciate this book. And that's what I loved so much about it. And that's why I overshadowed the whole story thing, because I'm a fan of Larson's work. I'm a fan of all the years he's put into this title, and I can really appreciate it. And my hat's off to him for keeping this title going for 20 years. Yeah, awesome stuff here. I was done reading it in 2 minutes, but it was a great book to look at. and I can really appreciate it, and this is going in my collection forever. So after reading and looking at Savage Dragon, I'm going to give this one a 4 out of 5 stars. Really appreciated of the art. All right, so going forward now, we go on to number 2 book of the week, and number 2 book of the week goes to All New X-Men, issue number 33. We get to see all our X-Men lost in space and in time now. All the young X-Men. So they're really messed up. And in this issue, you get to see the continuation of where they're at. You get to see Iceman here, stuck with Mole Man. And you get to see Beastman where he's at. And you get to see where X-23 winds up with Angel. And really interesting stuff here. I enjoyed it a lot. You get to see her meet with the other Wolverine in here. I forgot his name because he's from Ultimate X-Men. And you get to see Beast again go with, this Doctor Doom type of like character, which I felt was okay. But the thing that made this book shine for me was, of course, Brian Michael Bendis writes this. And what else does he write? Ultimate Spider-Man. And the Ultimate Spider-Man moments in this issue were phenomenal. Artwork is not quite there because you're used to reading Miles Morales, but however, the story is there, and you get to see Genki meet up with Jean Grey, and he's just like all gaga over her, and they need to borrow his car, and they need to find a way to get her back to her right time. And really interesting stuff. Great character moments here. Really enjoyed the book. And, the artwork was good at times, and at other times it wasn't. Again, the Miles Morales thing wasn't all there for me, but I thought the Iceman story I thought was really well done here. I thought the artwork was well done. I love his humor in the series. I think it's really awesome. This was my favorite page of the book. You can see I'm big on the one-page spreads, two-page spreads, big, huge monsters. I like that in the artwork. I think it really puts out a lot. So really fun stuff here. Again, issue number 33. I'm going to give this a 4 out of 5 stars. Really enjoyed it. All right, got this last text, and then we're going to go on to number 1. And I bet number 1 is killing you. All right, number 1 goes to Fantastic Four, issue number 12. It's not just because Spider-Man's on there. Yes, he does have a huge part to play in this intervention with Johnny Storm because him and Johnny Storm are best buds. But I thought the overall story here was really well done. I think James Robinson on this book has been phenomenal. The disassembling of the Fantastic Four was great, and now you're trying to see them somehow piece back together, which I think is somewhat even better. So in this issue, again, you get to see Spider-Man intervene with Johnny Storm and saying, you got to get off this party nonsense that you're not and get back with your family. And he kind of opens up Johnny Storm's eyes, which I really enjoyed there. Again, nice artwork here. Leonard Kirk is phenomenal on this book. And then you get to see this Hawkeye type of character from Heroes Reborn. And hopefully you guys are familiar with Heroes Reborn because this was the series that was launched in the 90s in that type of universe. So you get to see he was the one that tried to kill Wyatt Wingfoot in the issue as well. Once Johnny Storm comes to his senses in here, we get to see that he comes to Ben Grimm and he goes to Ben. He's like, you got to get yourself, out of here. He's like, you got to get yourself out. Let's break out. And then you get to see Ben Grimm team up with Sandman in this issue. And you're going to know that, okay, he's going to break out of jail. Johnny Storm's back in check. You got those two back together. Now you got Valeria. She winds up realizing that she has to go back to her mom because her mom is not well. Because Malice is popping out of there somewhere because she's so much in distress. and she feels that Doctor Doom is in this safe place, that everything's okay, and she feels like he's turned himself around. And the cool thing is, as soon as she leaves, you get to see Doctor Doom in his evil ways. And just I haven't seen him in a very long time, and we get to see him sitting there going that he wants control of these worlds. So something's brewing there with all the worlds in the Marvel universe. Something's happening, and I'm wondering if that is going to lead to this crazy event that's all these incursions that's happening right now with this Heroes Reborn or the event that's coming very soon. So very interesting stuff, and he gives the evil type of laugh. I thought it was awesome. And you also get to see Reed Richards. He freaks out and he realizes that things are not what they seem. And by the time we get to the end of this issue, we get to see Heroes Reborn Iron Man released to destroy Reed Richards. And when I saw that, I was like, Iron Man from Heroes Reborn, that's freaking awesome. I was like, that's really cool. I like where they're going with all this. So out of all the issues this week, I thought this was the best overall story because you get to see the Fantastic Four really starting to come back together again. And you get to see Doctor Doom become that evil creature that he is or evil person that he is under this armor. And it's just, this is the best Fantastic Four series that I have read in years. For years I've been turned off by the Fantastic Four, but for me this is the best one in a long time. And I know like Fantastic Four's not ending for quite a while yet. They're going to be going back to the original numbering, but when this series ends, I'm going to be disappointed because I think James Robinson is perfect for this book. So I'm a little bit disappointed there. I gave this book a 4 3/4 stars, just for the reason being that if you're not a Heroes Reborn fan, or if you're not familiar with that timeline, you might be a little bit turned off by it. You might not be as excited for it. Just like how I am a Marvel heavy type of fan, and I'm not a DC heavy fan. That's why like World's End I don't get it all the time, so I'm not as excited as say other people would. But for me, this is why Fantastic Four this week got my #1 pick of the week. So guys, there you have it. There's my Spider Slayers countdown, episode number 80. You've seen the worst, you've seen the best, and guys, tell me all your books. What was your worst? What was your best? And all those comics in between. And until the next comic book review, fans, thank you for watching Comic Book Corner 2.0. And I'll see you in the next comic book review. Take care, fans. See you soon. Bye.